Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, your exclusive source for 2A basketball. And now, your hosts, coming to you from the Slim Force Studio, Andy and Benny Hill.
Welcome to the Fourth Row Podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to 2A basketball here in the spring-like state of Utah, at least for a couple days anyway. I'm your host, Andy Hill. I'm here with the coach, Benny Hill, and the newest member of the Fourth Row, Peyton Shepard, in the Slim Force Studio, sponsored by Security National. We'd like to thank our good friend Chris Jorgensen in the Ephraim office for being our title sponsor. Any of your mortgage needs, give him a call, 283-3000, turning houses into homes. A couple things about the Fourth Row Podcast. We are still the number one 2A podcast in the state of Utah, 45 weeks running. We might be the only one, but we're still the number one.
Just keep racking them up, number one rankings every week.
The audio version of the podcast will release each Monday. Actually, usually it's out on Sunday night. So with the YouTube version releasing on Monday morning as well. We'd like to thank everybody and remind them to follow us on our social media channel. We blew right through 1,000 followers on Instagram. We're like 1,045 now. We're
big time.
We're big time. Make sure to go follow Peyton on all of her Instagram as well, Pay Shepard and PS Scenes, which is her, what I call it, your business account.
Yeah, that works. Photography.
Photography, yeah. If you have a wedding or you have any need for photography, check her out. Make sure you get on fast because her schedule's filling up because she's going to add another addition to the Shepard family here shortly.
Yep, so. Too soon, I think.
What's the countdown?
Oh, we're down to 5 weeks.
Bingo.
So what's the official date?
March 28th.
March 28th. That's coming up. Awesome. Make sure also, we've mentioned this before, but you can find the podcast on teamhive.live. So if you're trying to catch up on last week's playoff games, just scroll down to the section that says podcast, and you'll find the only podcast on there, which is the Fourth Row Podcast. All right, Benny, what do we have going on tonight?
We have a lot of awesome things going on tonight here. First and foremost, Peyton, would you like to talk about the tournament up here?
Yeah.
Photos.
So I have a babysitter. I'm going to be child-free all Thursday. So I am going to be up at all the games. And if you are wanting pictures or your team are wanting pictures, just reach out on my social media. Even if I don't hear from anyone, I'm probably going to take some, and then we'll just upload them on the Fourth Row website and kind of post about it on the Instagram page, and you can go and purchase some. Just go look at them, whatever you want to do. But, yeah, I'm excited to do that. Hopefully we'll get some on Friday and Saturday too.
Awesome. So, yes, you can contact her on her pages. If you want to DM us on the Fourth Row, we'll pass the information on to Peyton as well.
Yep. Perfect.
Fantastic pictures, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be an awesome thing. Thanks, Peyton. 10,000 downloads this week.
We hit the 10,000th download. I can still remember when we launched our first one. It was Thanksgiving Day a year and a half ago. And I remember we were nervous. We edited, Ben edited, I did everything.
Oh, man, I polished that thing up really nice.
I'll bet I listened to it 15 times that day, and I'm like, oh, nobody's going to listen to this. I didn't dare to tell anybody about it.
We were kind of sheepish about posting anything about it, too.
Yeah. And now we just hit our 10,000th download. So that doesn't include everything else that we're getting off of YouTube. And then Team Hive, we're getting a ton of response. Barrett's been sending us kind of weekly updates where we're getting hits off of there. I need to get a refreshed report from him because I'll bet these next couple weeks are going to be big.
Yeah, so 10K, that's a big thing for us. So
absolutely.
Peyton, thanks for coming on board and helping us get to 10K. That's an awesome thing. We're also going to talk about the first and second rounds of the playoffs tonight. The final brackets are set. We have the games going on in Salt Lake Community this weekend, starting Thursday, the quarterfinal games on Thursday. And before we get started tonight, there's one thing that I did want to bring up. This is the last thing in my announcements, but it's a big thing. We lost a member of our coaching fraternity over the week, Coach Fish up at North Summit. He's been part of athletics there for a long time. Had boys played back when they won state championships with Jerry Holmes. And when Coach Priest, who's a great friend of ours, when he took over 7 years ago, he was looking for an assistant coach, and Coach Fish is one that he brought on his staff. And so he's been with him over the 7 years. So we've seen him many times as we've played in their regions. But I wanted to give just a little tribute and a shout out to him on behalf, just to let his family know that we're thinking about him and the great contributions that he had with Coach Priest and their team. So I reached out to a couple players just to get their thoughts on Coach Fish that I wanted to read over the air for our podcast tonight. So I reached out to our good friend Mel.
Oh, yeah, Mel Brown.
And our good friend Hayden, who both played and knew Coach Fish. So I just want to read. I asked them if they would write something real quick, a tribute to him that we could read on their behalf tonight. So the first one is from Mel Brown. It says, Coach Fish always put us first. No matter if it was an open gym or an early morning practice, you'd see him there. He'd always be there. He'd always help us succeed no matter what we were doing. If we needed to get into the gym, we'd talk to Coach Fish. If we just needed someone to talk to, he was there. He was genuinely one of the greatest people I've ever known, and the greatest honor I've had was playing for him. I will miss playing for North Summit, but most importantly, I will miss the opportunity to see Coach Fish every day and the ability to talk to him about anything. Great tribute from Mel. And one other one I'm going to read from our good friend Hayden. Coach Fish had a genuine love for his family, community, and basketball. After practices, games, or running into each other outside the season, we could talk about basketball for hours. He always was someone who was dealt a lot of hard situations, and you would never know it talking to him. He never complained and always lifted spirits up. Coach Fish will be missed by everyone who was able to come in contact with him. And earlier tonight, Andy, you walked down, and I was on the phone. I was on the phone with Coach Priest. His funeral, Coach Fish's funeral, was yesterday. And he mentioned that there was a lot of stories about Coach Fish, and the most striking or the most obvious declaration by everyone is that he was a genuine friend that just got it. He got life. And I didn't know these things, and we wouldn't unless we were in that community. Coach Fish was a cancer survivor. Following cancer, he had several complications that required Achilles surgery, hip surgery, and he had just this season, on December 7th, he had open heart surgery. And his only, well, he probably had many other goals, but he wanted to get back for the basketball season. So when he came down to Gunnison, I believe, so in mid-January, he was back on the bench. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember seeing him.
So he just loved basketball. He loved being part of the basketball team and coaching kids. My biggest memory of him always is not necessarily communicating with him. He always was smiling. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember looking. He always had a smile on his face. But I just wanted to pass that message along. The coaching world is it's tough business. When you get into coaching, it can be lonely, but man, it is so rewarding. And when you meet guys that are in it, I have friends that'll be lifelong friends because we were in the coaching fraternity. But I just wanted to let Coach Fish's family know that we're thinking of them, and the best thing we could do is just to give him a shout out and thank him for his service to North Summit and to the kids. Truly, when we lose people at this young age, we experienced it. You don't recognize how wonderful people are until they're gone. And once they're gone, you look back and you're like, man, they had special gifts and talents that we all need to emulate and we all need to be better at. And Coach Fish was one of those guys. So I just wanted to share that tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
My last thing. The state tournament will be held at Salt Lake Community College. I just wanted to read something real quick just because I thought it would be helpful to our listeners in regards to parking.
Yeah, I've heard about this, yes.
Most of the comments that I've heard in relationship to playing at Salt Lake Community College has been complaints about the potential parking situation. Mm-hmm. Not only that it's hours and hours away from everybody, but I just want to read this real quick. Salt Lake Community College is pleased to be hosting 2A Boys and Girls state basketball tournaments in the LAC on Redwood Road campus, 4600 South Redwood Road. To help make your tournament visit a success, please be aware of the following instructions and information. Parking. Parking may be an issue. Please encourage everyone to carpool with full cars to the tournament. Please announce this widely within your schools. Please see the attached maps. This is on the high school activity, UHSAA.org website. Also, tickets. Tickets will be available only through GoFan digital tickets. There will be no opportunities for cash purchase of tickets. All tickets must be purchased on-site using credit card or debit card on the website, using a credit card or debit card at the box office, or purchased in advance via the GoFan website. So I guess you can purchase them with credit card, or you have to buy them online. No cash. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up.
My only beef about that, they charge you a $2.50 convenience fee to buy them online. That's my beef with that. So if anybody from the UHSAA is listening, figure that out. But yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we were actually just talking a little bit earlier tonight, and parking will be an issue. It's not like going to the SVC where you can kind of just park where you want to. It's right off of Redwood Road, and there's only so much parking up there. So
yeah, so those are my announcements, and not to be lost in all that. Shout out to Coach Fish. I know the North Summits basketball team was doing a fundraiser, selling shirts on his behalf. If anybody is interested, we will. You can look up any of their North Summit basketball's Instagram pages or their players, and you'll see those on there if you want to purchase and be a part of that.
Awesome. Okay.
It's a playoff time.
Playoff time. Lots of stuff going on. There was a lot of games this week. I think almost every team in 2A, boys and girls, played either Tuesday or Wednesday. And then as we moved on in the second round, most teams, there's also a bunch of games on Friday and Saturday. So let's get a quick rundown. I think let's just kind of go through the games Tuesday and Wednesday. If you guys are okay with that, I'll just go through those.
Blow through those.
High level, and then we'll go to Friday, Saturday. So on Tuesday, the boys opening round game, Beaver over Draper APA 60-57. The Bulldogs, our hometown Bulldogs, got a win 65-50 over Mazer Prep. North Severe Wolves 80 over Freedom Prep. North Summit Braves 83, Merritt Academy 23. The Rockwell Marshalls with the Fighting Hendersons 95. Utah Military Hillfield 58. And the Waterford Ravens over the St. Joe's 52-38. No surprises there. I'm still curious as to why we played. I ran some quick numbers. I think the average point margin on opening day and boys and girls was 25 points.
Yeah, they're interesting games, to say the least.
And so So on the girls on Wednesday, again, opening round, we'll go through these really quick. Enterprise beat Freedom Prep 67-19. Mazer over Roland Hall 39-32. Rockwell 63. APA West Valley 31. San Juan beat our hometown Gunnison Lady Bulldogs 48-35. Millard 76-7 over Wasatch Academy. That wasn't a typo. 7. Waterford 44. Merritt 40, and St. Joe's 56-22. So no surprises whatsoever the first 2 days. It was blowouts all the way around. Like I say, an average 25-point win on both sides. So that took us to actually Friday night.
Friday is when the action got happening.
Yeah. So our hometown Gunnison Bulldogs made the long trip down to Kanab on Friday, amongst others, and the Wolves made the trip up to West Valley, took on the APA tough APA West Valley team.
Peyton, tell us about your week.
Man, it was good.
You had a lot of basketball. You got your sisters playing, plus your husband's team playing. How was your week?
It was good. Unfortunately, the North Severe Wolves did lose to APA West Valley. Tough game. I felt like we gave them all we had. Me and my husband both feel like that's the best team basketball that we've played, and they played with so much heart, so much energy. And honestly, if you lose, that's the best way you want to go out, is leaving it all out on the floor. Randy Elmer, he had a great game with 31 points, 7 threes. Truly remarkable.
Yeah, great game.
I feel like it sucks because he's leaving now as being a senior, and we've seen that potential in him all year. But, I mean, good for him for coming out, playing a solid 4 quarters. West Valley just shot the lights out there. 5 for 8 for threes in the first and fourth quarter. They're very athletic, but...
On Friday, I was at work, and someone said, how are the games going to be today? I said, there's 2 interesting games, in my opinion. San Juan versus Parowan, and North Severe versus APA West Valley. Because I do honestly believe that North Severe had a very good shot in winning that game.
Oh, yeah,
and it appears, you guys were, North Severe was game.
Yeah.
They did it, but you are correct. APA West Valley, it's hard to counter that kind of size.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the size had some major bearing in them getting the win.
I mean, you look at them when they're on the court and you're in the bleachers, and it's like, okay, like, they're obviously bigger than us. But after the game, they were walking around, and I was just, like, staring straight up at the ceiling at some of their kids, like, okay, like, our 5'10" guys, like, we competed, and they gave it all they had. Like, they played really well.
I watched, I was bouncing between Gunnison game and your game in the second half, and they made that run. I'm like, they're going to come back. They're going to come back, and then Okur got that alley-oop, and it was like the momentum just shifted.
Yeah.
And they even talked about it on the broadcast. It was like it just flipped, and you could, even watching it, you could feel the momentum change. And that's tough when you got a Okur who can jump out of the gym. You know, he had a good game. Just wasn't enough, you know, from full side. As much as they did, it's just a little bit too much for them. But it was a good game. Fantastic game.
It was. I mean, it came down to, we were down 4 with 15, 17 seconds, had a shot, missed it, and then by then you're fouling and it's just too late. But
yeah, no, I thought it was very good.
Very game effort by the Wolves.
Yeah. So a couple other games. Should we roll through these games on Friday?
Let's roll through them.
I'll just start here at the top. South Sevier took on North Summit Braves that we were just talking about. I'm sure it was a very emotional night for the Braves. They make the trip down to South Sevier. South Sevier was just too much for him. Emilio had 23. Keegan Heath had 15. Buck Sargent had 15 on the Braves side, but I think South Sevier was just too much.
Yeah, North Summit, obviously, with Coach Fish passing, it was a tough week for them. Mm-hmm. It really honestly was. And playing at South Sevier with that's a tall task to take on. And Emilio Miramontes, he is the key to South Sevier. If you can slow him down, you can slow the Rams down. But if he's going for 23, look out.
Yep.
And Coach Priest, when I spoke with him, he said yes, he was. He got hot.
Yep.
Got hot early, and that carried him.
Yep. Yeah, I talked to a couple guys from South Sevier. They said the same thing. Emilio was on fire. As he goes, the team goes. So South Sevier runs away with that one, 79-55. The other interesting game that Benny talked about, the Pair 1 Rams, San Juan. This was an early tip. It was at 6 o'clock, so I actually ran out to LMX after work, got my LMX, was sitting at home, had all my games set up, ready to go. 6 o'clock, Pair 1, San Juan tipped off, and it was all Pair 1 from the get-go.
Start to go?
Start to finish. I mean, definitely wasn't a high-scoring game. I mean, Pair 1 finished with 50 points, but San Juan only scored 36. Really kind of a slow game, not much going on. Felder finished with 18. Waylon Robinson had 11. But San Juan just didn't have any answer offensively. Anthony Doan had 17, but other than that, they just struggled to really get anything going. And in that situation, it's hard. It's hard, number one, to beat a team 3 times, but then you knew sooner or later, Pair 1 playing at home was just too much for him.
Yeah, that's a.
The other game that I watched was the early game. Enterprise played a 3 o'clock game against Waterford. They'd run away with this 79-38. This is the thing I love about Enterprise. So they get this game running away, right? Here's their scoring breakdown. It's just like every other game. Trayson Randall had a fantastic game.
He had a good game.
Trayson had a really good game. Shout out to him. He had 15. Austin Thomas had 14. Dax Hunt had 14. Crouch had 11. Whitman had 10, and Staley had 7. They just do
every game.
Every game.
Carbon copy.
It's just they just run it, and they know exactly. Even in a blowout, this is exactly what you get with Enterprise. So they run away 79-38. The APA West Valley game we talked about. American Heritage. American Heritage is interesting.
I was just saying, they put up 95.
95 points. So they beat Rockwell with the Fighting Hendersons 95-60. I'm interested to see what they do in the next round.
And we'll talk about that in just a second when we we go to the quarterfinal breakdowns. But you're right, that matchup with South Sevier is going to be very intriguing to me.
Yeah. So Winnetana finishes with 20. Larson's has 15. LaPrey has 13. Ricky Patterson has 10. Colton Henderson on the other side went for 31. It's pretty impressive. So that's going to be an interesting game. You want to talk about Kanab GV game?
While you were sitting in LMX and watching games, I was driving to Kanab, 3 hours down there. this was another matchup where this was a tall task for the Bulldogs. Honestly, when we went and saw you and I saw Kanab handle South Severe 2 weeks ago, you could see that they were looking like a playoff team. Mm-hmm. That was a week and a half ago, something like that. And so go down to Kanab. The first quarter was relatively even. What was it, 16-12, I think, in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Both teams kind of slugging it out a little bit, usually kind of filling each other out. But you could tell by the end of the first quarter, the pace was really starting to pick up. And then Kanab outscored them 27-12 in the second quarter, and it's pretty much game over at that point. Mm-hmm. I was thoroughly impressed by the size of Kanab. The size and physicality was impressive to me the way they played against Gunnison. They played fast, they played physical, and typical Kanab, they executed extremely well offensively. Kason Janes, just looked spectacular. Had 1-3, but really his work in the paint, his footwork, the post moves that he has, scoring, he was very dynamic. Derek Brown's one that surprised me was 16. He just got 16 because he's athletic and physical and aggressive, getting offensive boards, putbacks, and then just being at the right place, right time on offense. Because you had to put so much attention towards Janes and Cornell and Glover that he got loose a little bit. Cornell with a quiet 13, 2 threes. Glover 9 with 3 threes. The interesting thing to me was that the pace that Jordan Cornell played at, to me, was scary for other teams. Usually Cornell, this is just my perspective and my opinion, but usually Cornell is always looking to get his shot. Mm-hmm. On Friday night, he was much more, to me, they looked so much more fluid. He was just running offense. Now, he got his shots. He was aggressive, but he was so engaged offensively. Their offense looked smooth, in my opinion. Yeah. It looked scary smooth to where it wasn't just, hey, let's go down and run something for Cornell to check up a shot, or let's just run it down and get Janes a shot. They looked scary good to me. Yeah. So all in all, after all that, Kanab 80, Gunnison 54. Not to be lost in that in his last game of his high school career, John Wilden with 21 points and 5 threes. Yeah, I was very happy for John. The last 2 years have been a little frustrating for him, and I was very happy to see him go out shooting well and playing very well.
John played well.
And coaches would understand this. Generally, when a team has a number one scoring option, they get hounded every single game. Mm-hmm. Every pregame prep, that player's listed at the top of the board and says, we have to slow this or stop this guy to win the game. John's been that guy for 2 years straight. Every game, he's that guy.
Right.
And so you get defensive players hanging on you, grabbing you, standing. Derek Brown. Mm-hmm. Derek Brown. He's much physically more imposing than John, so he's locked on John. John's got that all game long.
Yeah.
And so you don't realize from the outside, sometimes people don't realize the pressure that it's put on kids in that situation to take that heat every single game. John's handled it very well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give him a special shout out tonight because I love John. He's a fantastic young man. And he's taken the shots for 2 years now.
Yeah.
But he finishes with a great game, 21 points, 5 threes, like I said. Yeah. So that was the end of the season for the Bulldogs. Go get some Wendy's and drive home. Basketball's over at the Hill household.
At least still have the podcast, so we still have a lot of basketball to go. Now it's track season, right?
Exactly, yes.
And we got a favorite in the state in the 200 this year. So
look forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Last couple games, Duchesne runs away with this one, 76-55 over Roland Hall. Parker Crum had a huge night, 32 points. Cade Giants 14. They've also dealing with some loss of some folks up there in Duchesne.
Yes.
So playing with some motion up there, the Eagles they get a big win. And then the last game of the night, Millard 57, Beaver 39. Rhodes goes for 24. Kenyon Gillens has 11. So
Millard, a good second round for them.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of set the stage, and we'll talk about the brackets here in a minute. Peyton, you want to talk about Saturday games with girls?
Yeah, let's do it. So starting off, we have Draper APA, who's the 4 seed, beating St. Joe's, 65-13. So
Bombs away.
Bombs away, yeah. Karchner had 18, Baldwin had 15. Those are the 2 girls on that team who are continually showing up, nearly averaging 20. And then we have North Severe Wolves over Rockwell with a 40-point win. Trey Torgerson had 29 with 2 threes, so huge game for her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
29?
She had her chances for a 30-point.
It's the 30.
Missed a putback layup and
that's exciting.
and had to
Great
travel for another layup. So I said that just gives you motivation to go out and get it another game.
Awesome.
Nice.
But huge game for her. And then our Beavers sitting at the number 1 spot. They didn't mess around against Mazer Prep, 71-7.
That's crazy.
So-
7 point. You score single digits. There's 2 girls games in these first and second rounds. Single digits.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little tough. And then a really good game, we talked about it last week on the podcast, Duchesne sitting at number 8, American Heritage at 9. Duchesne got them by 4, 55-51. Kelsey Grant had a big game with 18 points, and then Holly Brockband with 14. So I know that's one we were kind of looking at. We didn't know what American Heritage had, but Duchesne squeaks away with the win. North Summit, 64 over San Juan, 45. North Summit had 3 girls in double figures, those solid 3 with Langston, Richens, and Murdoch that are always, pulling in the weight. And then this is the biggest game that I wanted to talk about.
I want to hear about what you had to say about this one.
So I didn't get to watch it, obviously, because my sisters were playing, but Millard Eagles were sitting at the 10 spot and South Severe was sitting at 7. Millard topped them 49-48. So on the Deseret News overview, it said South Severe missed 2 free throws with 2 seconds left. So had a chance to not only win that game, but tie it, and that's tough, but it was kind of back and forth the whole game. South Severe started out up 4 after the first quarter, and then it was tied at half, and then just kind of back and forth from there. Huge game from Maya Leatham with 24 points, 5 threes from Millard. She's only scored in double figures 2 other times this year. It's kind of been a Kara Camp show. Mm-hmm. She's kind of been the one that you watch out for, but this girl dominated the game, and they obviously couldn't stop her and ended up getting the win. So that's huge.
Good for the Eagles.
So yeah. South Severe had some big wins this year, though.
They did. Very big wins. And it's unfortunate because they were obviously the favorite at the 7 seed. But Millard has always been, I've thought of them as a dark horse, but then there's just some games that they just haven't been winning, but they've been close with North Severe. They've been close with North Summit a couple times, and Duchesne, so they're there, and if they have a good game, they're a dangerous team. So, and then rolling on to Kanab versus Waterford. Waterford was a 19 seed. They actually beat Merritt, who was 14. So, but that game was 66-32. Riley Little had 20 points, and then lastly, Parowan at the 6th spot beat Enterprise 53-45, which was actually a little bit closer than I was imagining. So Enterprise did give them a good run. Bella Robinson had 19 points, and Brooklyn Hewlett had 13. So
Parowan's a team that made it into your Power 5 to end the season,
did,
right?
Yes.
So you said they were playing really well going to the playoffs.
So I think last week they were on a 4-game winning streak. So
awesome.
Make it, what would that be, 5? They didn't play because they're number 6.
Oh, yeah, they got a bye, yes. Yep.
5.
So the stage is now set for both the top 8 teams in boys and girls. So let's start with the boys, and we'll just go through each bracket. We'll go to 1, 2, 3, and 4 brackets and talk about quarterfinal games that will happen this Thursday morning. Let's start on the number 1 side of the bracket, the Enterprise Wolves, as they take on region foe, the Parowan Rams.
So this, along with our number 2 seed, this is the grudge match, the third, even beyond a grudge match. This is the third time Enterprise and Parowan have hooked up this year. I believe they split during the season.
did.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Home and home. Mm-hmm. And both games were extremely competitive. It is very unfortunate in this game, your number one seed Enterprise Wolves face a team of this caliber in the quarterfinals. I kind of these 4 games, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Slightly choking, but we're good.
I kind of wrote some notes down by each game. This is power v power in this game.
You remember these guys, if you remember last year, they matched up the morning game, the 9 o'clock game, 9:30 game last year. And I remember they came out, and Felder came out, had some rim rockers, and I was like,
Paramount was that big in that game in the first half.
Watch out. And then Enterprise, just steady Eddie, ended up blowing them out. This is going to be an intriguing matchup.
Of the 3, this is the one that I think everyone's got their eyeballs on, simply because both of these 2 teams, Enterprise is the number 1 team, obviously has a chance to win a championship. Parowan's an 8 seed, does as well. Mm-hmm. So wild game, wild matchup.
Yeah. If I had to say one way or another, the one thing I think that is what you look for going into the state tournament is consistency. Yeah. And if anybody is the model of consistency, it's Enterprise, right? Even in a blowout win, they've got 1, 2, 3. They got 5 guys in double figures and another guy with 7. That's what I look for. Enterprise Bud isn't going to change. He's going to do the same thing. For me, it's what Parowan team shows up. Is it the Parowan team that was number 1 in the Power 5 a month ago, or is it the team that struggled toward the end of the season? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what's very intriguing about this. But with playoff time comes, who can stay the course. Mm-hmm. The basketball game, 32 minutes long, 4 quarters. It's got to be possession by possession, and so we shall see.
Yeah, that's
Is this the first game of the day?
No, it's not. It's actually not. It's the second. They play at 12:50, so it's the 3rd game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not the morning game.
Last year it was like
early morning, and people are still getting the cobwebs out. So that's an intrigue. And let's move over to the number 2 side. The Millard Eagles match up again with Duchesne.
Yeah, so we have region v region in the number 1 team, number 2 v region versus region.
Yep.
So this would be the 5th time they've met over the 2-year span. Mm-hmm. Millard is 4-0 against them, like I mentioned last week. My stat of this matchup right here, in those 4 games, the spread differential has been 3.25 points. Yeah. And in 4 games.
I fully expect this one will be no different. Again, we talked about Duchesne lost a member of their community, some family members or some players this week. So they're playing with some emotion as well. So they've got the short trip down through the canyon, down to Salt Lake Community. Miller doesn't have that far to go. But this is an intriguing game.
This one, in my opinion, this one comes down to Millard is going to score. Mm-hmm. Rhodes and Stevens are going to get their points. Parker Crumb's going to get his points. I think Jep Young's going to get his points. This game, to me, is going to come down to defense. Mm-hmm. Now, when I saw them last over in Millard, Millard was up big in the first half. And I firmly believe Millard's defense let them down in the second half, and Duchesne's defense is what kept them in the game and brought them back. Mm-hmm. So my opinion of this game, scoring is going to happen one way or the other. It's going to be who brings the defense for 4 quarters. Duchesne typically will be that team. It's whether or not Millard's going to lock them down for 4 quarters as well. Because I think they might have been 15, 18 points over there. And Duchesne, man, they're a possession by possession team too. They just keep coming and just keep grinding and grinding. So very, very interesting matchup here.
Yeah.
2 region foes that they get after it.
Two games you play all year long to play another team from your region.
Exactly.
Quarterfinals. Number 3, the Kanab Cowboys match up with the APA West Valley Eagles.
You know what we should do? We should have Coach Shep come on and break this one down for us.
I'll switch him seats.
Coach Shep, you want to come put on the headset, man?
Yeah, come on over.
He's nervous.
No, that's good for him.
Okay, I'll step out, guys.
Just for a second.
You can hang right here. Welcome, Cody, Coach Shepard.
He is a very faithful visitor every Sunday night. and probably just our negligence. We haven't got him on the airwaves. But now that his season's over, he can relax a little bit and come on the microphone with us. He just played APA West Valley. You played Kanab this year too, didn't you?
Yeah, down there at the Kanab Classic.
Classic, very good. So, what do you think of this matchup, Kanab v. APA West Valley? I'm not asking you to predict anything. How do you break this one down?
So I'm not predicting anything.
Oh, you go ahead. Actually, you can. Go ahead and predict if you want to.
No, let's break it down first. Then
Let's do it.
Then we can predict that.
Okay.
But, it'll be interesting. Gunnison played West Valley as well, so you guys got to see them earlier in the year, and they're athletic, they're quick.
Did their size cause you more problems than you thought?
Honestly, no. I didn't feel like it was necessarily their size that causes problems. Their quickness did.
Great point. Yes.
They have guards that were quick, and we couldn't stay in front of them. So defensively, we had to make some adjustments there that, as a coach, I didn't want to make, but needed to stop that. So
did you man them to begin with?
No, we actually started in 2-3. They hit a couple shots there in the first quarter, so we got out of it, went to man earlier than I wanted to, and then we couldn't stay in front of them, so we had to go back to 2-3. And our kids did a good job getting back into that game. But they're a 3-point heavy shooting team. They shot 34 threes against us, which is crazy because we're a 3-point shooting team too. So when the team we're playing is shooting more than us, it's a lot. So, but I think their athleticism, they do shoot the ball well. They hit 14 against us, so it was over 40% they made. So that could cause problems if they start making some shots. They don't play very well away from home, though. So I think at a neutral spot, they might struggle a little bit shooting the ball.
Interesting.
So, defensively, they really rely on that athleticism to.
Do they full court?
They do not.
Just at half court?
Half
Zone?
court. Yeah, they were in a 1-3-1 for most of the game. And I think a lot of that was foul trouble. They're not deep.
Yeah.
And so their best player,
Comey,
yeah, he was in foul trouble. And so it pushed him into that 1-3-1.
That is another great point. In the fact, when Gunnison beat them down here, they were in foul trouble.
Yeah, they got in foul trouble early.
Most of the game, they were in foul trouble. And a lot of it because they are so aggressive defensively, real handsy.
Yeah.
And perhaps games in the northern area are officiated different. I don't know. Were they tight? Were they tight with the whistle?
Yeah, I actually liked them.
Okay.
So I thought the game itself, officiating, was good.
Yeah. 'Cause down here, they were real handsy, and they got some steals and got up on us double digits, but then they quickly ran into foul trouble.
Yeah,
playing that way. Mm-hmm. So how do you think Kanab matches up against them?
I think Kanab matches up with them very well. I talked to Coach Glazier, actually, for quite a while before we got here. Mm-hmm. He seemed a little anxious.
Yeah, he was texting me Friday night. I could tell he was a little anxious.
I think coaches are at this point. Yeah, they got a lot on the line.
Yeah, I think every coach would be a little anxious going into this week. But Kanab has size. They're quick. It's kind of like you were talking about with that game down there. So I think the matchup, Kanab's, yeah. They will match. They will match up with them. They're big. They're athletic. They're quick. So.
And one thing that I think Kanab has guards, two guards that can handle the ball very well against pressure, and they're used to that. So I think that's a plus for Kanab in this aspect. The other matchup that I really want to see is Case and Janes in the post. Offensively, how they're going to defend that.
Yeah. I don't know if they can man Kanab.
That's why I say I would love to see that matchup, because I think Case and Janes will have a great day if they try to man him.
And I think an advantage for Kanab is the region they've played in all year.
Just a grinder.
Yep. hopefully by this point, Kanab, they know what they have, and I think they're playing really well.
Yeah.
Now. So my prediction, you want my prediction?
Go for it.
I think Kanab's going to beat them by 15.
All right. There you go. We have it right here. Coach Shepard.
Yeah, I think Kanab's playing really well right now.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. Of all the teams that I've watched this year, coming out of timeouts, set plays, nobody does it better than Kanab. We watched them against South Severe. Every single timeout they came out with the set play and executed it to perfection. They're high-fiving, fist-bumping on the bench. When those guys are playing well and they're executing, it's extremely hard. They've got the tough guards out front. To me, the unsung hero in all this is Brown. He
does the dirty work.
He does the dirty work. He's guarding the big guys. He's rebounding. He's doing everything else, but he does it quietly with Kaysen and Cornell and Glover, and he just kind of hangs around. But he is the key guy on that team.
He's a scrum guy. And I've always talked about scrum guys are huge, irreplaceable guys that just do the unsung things. And so Kanab's got a lot of good pieces.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think this will be a good game. I do think Kanab's got a little bit. They've been to the cooker already.
Yeah,
they play in Region 19, so this is nothing to them, and they've got some real experience they're going to bring, and Coach Glazier will have them ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's while you're here, let's just move over to the last bracket, South Severe bracket. Right. So South Severe moves through and matches up with American Heritage.
My notes that I wrote on this one, this is 3s versus 3s.
Yep. Oh, this is bombs away.
Yeah, I think this is going to be this will probably be the most exciting game of the first quarterfinal games. This one could be a lot of points going up in this game.
Yeah, and American Heritage has got some skill guys. Winnetana,
he's playing well right now.
He's playing well right now. A couple of other guys, Larson, LePray, Patterson, they can all shoot the ball. They're a very tall, long team. It'll be interesting to see how they match up against that quickness of South Severe. Height-wise, I think they're definitely going to have the height advantage. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But it looks like they're just running and gunning.
I don't think South Severe will complain with that.
No.
After being bludgeoned all region long with post play, they'll probably be amped to get up and down the court.
So this one kind of eerily reminds me of that South Severe Roland Hall game where
potentially so, an unknown.
We knew a lot more. We personally knew a lot more about Roland Hall last year. We get that late. It was a 2:30 game, and that place was packed.
It was a good crowd,
and Roland Hall came out and punched him in the mouth, and that was it.
Silenced it.
Sam Andrews just bludgeoned him. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even a game. So I don't know that they're going to be quite like this, but I don't know.
What do you think, Coach?
Well, I think South Severe remembers exactly what happened last year, and so I think they'll have some fuel on that fire. But yeah, if you like offense and you want to come watch a game on Thursday, that would be the game to come to.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited for it. It won't be one of those games in the 40s.
It's not going to be exactly. I was going to say not going to be a slugfest.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be they're going to be lighting the nets on fire.
Yeah, I'm interested because to me the kind of the breakdown I see is Emilio and Ridge. They're going to get their points. I think those guys are going to get their 19 to 20. It's for South Severe. Who else is going to step up big? They've got some guys that can print. Brindley's playing well. Roberts is playing well. Bastion's playing well. Keegan Heath has been playing well. It just, can they get all those guys firing? And if they do, and American Heritage guys, you could see an 80, 90-point game on both sides.
How cool would that be?
That'd be a lot of fun. You can turn off the shot clock on that one for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think there's some fantastic games. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think most of these games, it might be a little surprise if the lower seeds win, but not that big of a surprise, honestly, in all of these games.
Yeah, I can see. There's a lot of things that could happen. It is the state tournament. We saw this. Last year we mentioned this a little bit. Sometimes when teams get there who haven't spent a lot of time in that type of atmosphere, get a little starry-eyed in the moment. Sometimes a little bit too big for them. I think the top seeds have been there. I don't. Enterprises. This is like old school for them, right? They do this every year. be interesting to see how those other teams
Great
react
point.
when you get there, because it's a different atmosphere, and there's a lot of pressure. If you're some of these top seeds, there's some pressure there to perform, and so I hope the kids are able to perform the best.
The other interesting, you tell me what you think about this, Coach. The other interesting part about the quarterfinal games in the state tournament, like I said, I'm no expert, just from the outside looking in. This is totally outside of your normal routine.
Oh, yeah.
Playing morning games, from 9 to after 1 o'clock, that's completely out of your normal realm. And generally, these games, the top teams don't come out lighting things on fire in the quarterfinal games. It just doesn't happen unless they are a superior opponent, or have an inferior opponent. So these games get dicey because of the time of day. Everyone's got the nerves. Most of the time you've traveled that morning, which becomes a difficult thing. Maybe most of these teams, maybe they'll be staying up there that night if the team's coming from the south. But it's outside of their normal routine.
Yeah. Think of West Valley and Kanab. Kanab's going to have to drive up Wednesday night, 6 hours.
Stay in a hotel.
It's kind of like a home game for West Valley. They'll be able to sleep in their own beds that night.
They're probably the closest school to Salt Lake Community. They're a mile or so away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for a team like Kanab, especially with them having the early game that day. But I'm excited. It's wide open.
Are you going up to the games?
Oh yeah, that babysitter pay.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Who'd you coax into that?
Oh, my parents.
Oh.
It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. But yeah, I think this is a tournament that's pretty wide open. Last year we kind of thought it would be San Juan or Enterprise, right? And so, yeah, I think on the boys and girls side, if you want to
Wide
go,
open.
yeah, I think if you want to go watch some fun basketball this weekend. Sucks it's that slick, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you, Coach.
Hey,
thanks for your
having me
input,
on.
man.
Yeah, I'll get my beautiful wife back on here.
Bring her on in.
We got Skinny made an appearance down here.
The cat came. Oh, stinking cat.
The hairless cat made an appearance.
Why is your cat hairless?
It's Skinny. You don't see that cat very often.
No, when it comes out, it's that cat's more popular than I am in my own house when people come over. Everyone just wants to see that cat.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, well, we got a quick breakdown of the boys.
How did Coach do in his
did
inaugural
good.
podcast?
He's a big dog now that he got on the podcast.
Big timer.
Oh.
We should have had him on more often. I always thought that every week. It's like, hey, he came over here. We should get him on.
Called him out on the spot. He did good.
Well, we'll talk about this later. He'll have to get on next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Boys, going to be exciting. Girls. Oh, shoot.
Also going to be exciting.
Girls. Peyton, turn it over to you.
All right, starting on the number 1 side, we got our Beavers taking on Duchesne. So this is the only team in the quarterfinals that hasn't matched up together this year.
Have not played.
Yep, that has
Really?
not played. So that's interesting. As I look at it, Beaver has so many offensive threats. I look at Duchesne. They've been in our region. I've seen them play a couple times. They have Kelsey Grant, but as you would predict, I think Beaver has too many offensive threats to handle. So, I mean, it's going to be a good game. I think Duchesne's going to come out firing away, giving them all they got. But we have that on the number 1 side. Moving over to number 2, we have North Summit against Millard as they upset South Sevier. So that's that game. These guys are in the same region. North Summit got a 10-point win the first time and then a 6-point win the second time. They're not blowing Millard out by any means.
Close games.
Yep. It is going to be close. With the Lethem girl coming out with a 24-point game against South Sevier, very interesting. North Summit's going to have to focus on her, as well as Kara Camp. But North Summit does have Heartland Richens, the Langston girl who's playing very well right now also. So that will be a good game. All of these are good games. I don't, like Cody said, I don't think there's going to be any huge blowouts. It's wide open for anyone. And then moving down to number 3, we have Kanab against Parowan. And they are also in the same region. Kanab beat them 54-32 the first time, and then Parowan hits their hot streak, and Parowan gets the second game in region by 1 point. So it's whoever's going to come out. And I would like to say Kanab. That's a prediction, but you never know what happens. Parowan is playing very, very good right now.
I wonder what goes on in Parowan. I think there's something in the water down there.
Just like, which Parowan team is it going to be? You never know. But I guess we'll see this weekend.
So they split at both their home places?
I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if that win by Parowan was at Kanab or home.
I'll look while you're talking.
All right.
I'm just curious about that.
I'll move over to the number 4 side.
North Severe Wolves.
Not just because I'm a homer, but I do think this is going to be the most interesting game of all of them. North Severe did go up to Draper APA very early in the season, got whopped on 67-43. They got outscored in the second quarter by 14 and then by 8 in the fourth quarter. So Draper APA blew them out. I think this game is going to come down to shutting down the Baldwin girl, whether that is us double teaming her or face guarding. She's just very quick off the dribble, very good at shooting. I talked about it last week. When they played Richfield, she had 41 with 8 threes, so she can shoot the ball and she's very good at attacking. It's going to come down to, turnovers, obviously, for the Wolves. They need to take care of the ball, but shutting her down is going to be huge. And I personally think we have the girls to stop her. It's going to be a matter of switching them out, running her around the gym, tiring her out, and seeing what we can do.
So who draws that matchup?
I don't know.
Who's the defensive lockdown player for the Wolves?
Against this girl, I think we could have Trey Torgerson, Alyssa Rosequist, she's the first one off the bench, or our senior guard, Brooke Butler. I think any of those three, you stick her on her. And here I am again, not just because it's my sister. I do think putting Trey on her and her length,
I was going to say the length,
being about
yes.
5'9", 5'10", very long arms, that could be a problem for her as she is a little shorter, little quicker guard. So
very nice.
Yep, that's our breakdown. Like I said, I think it's wide open. It's going to be good basketball for girls, and I'm excited. So
I just scrolled through. Kanab and Parowan have actually played 3 times this year.
They played 3? When was the other?
They played at the Buffalo Shootout. That must have been the
Over in Valley.
Must be at Valley. They played early on in December 10th. They played. Kanab beat them 55-33, and then later on, Kanab beat them 54-32 in Kanab. Sorry, excuse me, I can't get it out here. So they beat them 2 times in a row, both basically Kanab home games, and then at Parowan beats them 54-53.
There you go.
So 2 times Kanab got them really good early in the season, but this last game, 1-point game. So.
Yep, I'm excited to see that matchup for sure. And I know Kanab was missing a few girls, and they do have their full squad back this time, but you never know. It's state basketball. Anything can happen.
That's true. Yeah, and I think some of the other things, and we've talked about this a little bit on the boys' side, that may play into this. There's going to be a lot of travel. So these teams down south, if you're Kanab, if you're Enterprise, if you're Parowan, you've got 4 to 5 hour bus ride likely that day on the girls' side to get up there. On the boys' side, you're probably going the night before.
True.
There's probably nothing worse than a coach than staying in a hotel the night before and getting up and playing games, or staying over, and then you got to wrangle kids for a day and a half before you play again. So there's some different dynamics to go in this time of year when you get to the state tournament, and you hear people talk about that a lot. I remember when Coach Shakespeare was here, we talked about trying to mimic some of those things. You play a 3-day tournament where kids, you got to keep them wrangled and keep them motivated and keep them, whatever else that's going on. This is going to be a little bit different than the SVC too. The SVC is, people kind of go and hang out, and you're just there in Richfield. Now you're in the city, and there's a lot of different things that go on, different logistics, and so I think all those things are going to come into play.
Peyton, do you think, as a player, like I said, this very first game, boys play early in the morning, morning games, which I think is so much out of the routine that I think it throws the whole, the energy and the fire. There's usually not a big crowd there, so they kind of. But girls get their first round quarterfinal games that night. What's it like playing a semifinal game earlier on in the day?
Yeah, I would much rather play the quarterfinal one early. That's for sure. Especially like you say, fans. That's a long ways to travel, especially if you're Kanab, Parowan down there. But that's hard to wake up and be ready to go to compete for a state championship or to go to this championship, But it's also interesting to me that they would play late and then wake up early. So, for example, that NS Draper APA game, they start at 9 at night. I'm assuming they're going to be the second girls game in the morning. But still, that's a quick turnaround time, especially if you have girls playing lots of minutes or get an injury and just need a couple more hours to, kind of work through things. But that's tough. And you got to come mentally prepared, and if you're sleepy, stop being sleepy.
Well, that was kind of my point, is that this time of year, we talked a little bit about last week. We talked was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked with Shane about mental preparedness and mental toughness and strength. This is where it comes in, is these 3 days. There's a lot of variables that you're not used to, but it'll be the team, obviously, that executes on the court, but your execution on the court is going to be determined by mentally just blocking out all the other things and just focusing on your task at hand, whether it be a 9 o'clock tip-off a.m. on Thursday or whatever it is. Just the team that can just mentally just stay in the moment, stay for 32 minutes, just stay in it. Those are the teams that'll move on.
Yeah. So exciting stuff. I can't believe it's finally.
Isn't that wild to think that
the season's
season's
finally here, but it's here. It's like, holy crap, we just
season
started.
It feels like it's been, ages since basketball started, but it's like, okay, it's over already. Wow.
Yeah, I think we started the podcast again this year. It was the first or second week in November.
Yeah.
And it blew by this year. It's crazy how fast it went.
How long did it feel as a coach this year? Coach's wife, sorry. Coach's wife.
Extremely long.
It feels like really, really long, like it goes forever. But then when it's over, you're like,
I know. I've been saying, I just want my husband back. Like, geez. And then now he's just going to be at home once he gets off work. I said, can you go back to the gym or something? I need some time. I'm just kidding.
great weekend coming ahead for us.
Yeah. So.
Andy and I are going to try to, Peyton's going to be up there, obviously. I'm assuming for most of the time. Andy and I are going to try to make it up just due to work Friday, hopefully Saturday.
Yeah, at least Friday night we'll be up there for the afternoon and late games for sure. And then I've got some other commitments, so I might have to come back home and then be back up for the state tournament or state championship. So, but
we've been a lot of awesome people that message us throughout the year. Some people that were keeping posted on games on Friday night. So just come say hi. We'd like to meet people and put a face to the DM. So if you see us floating around, just come say hi. We'd love to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move into our wrap-up segment for tonight.
Let's do it.
We missed inside the numbers tonight, but I think we kind of went through everything. Normally we run through that. We've got we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about next week. So G-Telco wrap-up for tonight. The segment's sponsored by Lightburst Broadband by G-Telco, the Sanders family. They've been providing telephone service here in the Gunnison Valley for over 100 years and now providing the fastest, most reliable internet as well. Final thoughts for tonight?
My final thoughts would be obviously basketball coming up, but like I mentioned at the very, very beginning, I'm just to give a shout out to Coach Fish's family. Not to be lost in all this basketball. That's the thing that's crazy about life. Life just keeps going on. And my one thought is, when just based upon experience, when you have a child, or in our instance was a child or a spouse or a mom or a dad, when they pass away, that's the most important thing to you at that particular time. Like, life kind of stops for you as you mourn and as you take care of all those things. Your life extremely slows down, almost stops as you're going through that process. And one of the hardest things to wrap your mind around is the world doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. Everything keeps going. and you wish everyone would stop and pay attention and say, hey, we understand what's going on, but the world doesn't work that way. Things just keep moving on. And that's just why I wanted to share with Coach Fish's family is that even though the world is moving on, we all in our heart, I appreciate the situation that you're in and know that people are praying and thinking about you, because it's not easy. It's just not. That's my thought of the night.
Excellent. Thanks, Peyton.
Okay, well, mine wasn't as deep and as good as that. That's hard to follow. But I would just like to say to all those athletes out there going to state, live in the moment, because for some of you seniors, it's your last. If you're, a younger kid and underclassmen, this might be your only chance to go for it. So I just say give it your all. Don't let those nerves, ruin the experience, because it truly is something special, and those 4 years are going to fly by in a blink of an eye. And so just go enjoy it. It's fun. Basketball's fun, right?
Love it.
No, that's kind of what I was going to say. Especially go for situations like this as a young man or young woman in high school. Not everybody gets to go to the state tournament, so live in the moment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Live in the moment, enjoy it. Go and leave everything out, and when you're done, go give high five to the girls or boys on the other team, because you'll probably see them down the road somewhere else.
And you'll be friends later
and
on.
You'll be friends, and you'll joke about it, and you'll realize, hey, I'm just like them, even though I played against them all this time. So just live in that moment and enjoy what it is. Again, these opportunities don't happen. Not every kid gets to go play in the state tournament. And these are things you'll remember 10, 20, 30 years down the road. You'll remember these situations. So go and enjoy it. Play your best. Leave it all out on the court. That's all you can ask for. Before we start, or before we stop for tonight, do we want to announce what we're going to be doing next week?
Fire it off, Andy. I was hoping you'd fire it off.
So last year we announced our inaugural fourth row team. So we basically picked our all-star team. We do this a little bit unconventionally. It's almost kind of like the NBA all-star draft that we were watching tonight. We had decided who our top 20 players were from 2A last year, and then we basically had a draft, and we picked our teams. Mm-hmm. And at the time, we didn't think much about it, but afterwards, we had a lot of feedback. Said we need to play that game. In fact, we had a lot of players who said, "God, we need to play that game." So we've been scheming, and we got some things, and so we would like to announce that next week on the podcast, we will be doing our draft for our 2A top 20 players on both the girls and boys side. We're going to invite Coach Shep. You're going to have to come on and do it with your wife. They'll be doing the girls, and I and Benny, along with Peyton, actually, you can just join them. We'll get another mic up, and we'll do it all that night. And we're going to play that all-star game on March 9th here in Gunnison. We've got the gym reserved. We'll play a girls game at 6 o'clock that night, a boys game at 7:30 that night. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The great thing about ours is it doesn't matter if you're a freshman through a senior. If we feel like you're on our team, you're on our team.
Absolutely.
And this is different than everything else. There's a lot of factors that go into this. Last year we picked some guys that maybe necessarily weren't what you would classify as on other all-star teams, but we look at everything. We look at their ability on the court, off the court, what kind of people they are, the influence they have. That's the great thing about what we do is we have the ability to do that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Not lost in this, we're going to get some kids who are going to have a lot of recognition for the things that they do, and we'll give them one last chance to go together. Last year we would have teammates who would have played against each other.
That's the cool part, yes.
And so watch for that next week. We'll have a wrap-up of the state tournament. We'll talk about the 2 state champions, and then we're going to have our fourth row draft for boys and girls. And again, March 9th. We'll send out the invitations next week. So
this is a big venture for us. We're going out on a limb on this one.
I'm a little nervous, but I think we've been doing a lot of work in the background for this. We're excited to have it at Gunnison Valley High School. If your team has never played at Gunnison, it's one of the finest gyms around.
It is a great facility.
It's a fantastic facility. It's going to be a real fun night. We're not going to do anything crazy with skills challenge or anything. We're just going to roll the ball out and play some basketball and recognize some young men and young women for their what they do.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time.
So look forward to that. I'm excited about that.
It's so exciting.
It's going to be a
fun.
lot of fun to do that. Well, for myself, Andy Hill, for the coach Benny Hill, and for Peyton Shepard, for the fourth row, we're out.
Thank you for spending your time with the Fourth Row. For more information, check out our website at fourthrowmedia.com or send us a message through any of our social media channels.